Hi, Amy. Thank you for your post. Just wanted to take a moment and address a few things that really stood out to me. You mentioned Lund et al. And some of the research that they did talked about how challenging it can be for people to really trust in the effectiveness of mental health interventions. And there can also be such a wide continuum of the reasons why people don't trust. And so when we think about gathering evidence, it made me really kind of take a step back and go, it's not even just about what's the need. It's also what you pointed out. What is going on, or what are the factors for different sets of populations that make people feel that their trust has been broken? Is this prior experience? Are there other barriers that make them feel like, hey, I can't trust that this is going to work for me? Have they been in situations where they feel like they've been stigmatized or not valued in their efforts? And understanding how people kind of at that ground level feel about those who are attempting to reach out to them is equally as important as being able to meet a need. It reminds me of that cliche or analogy that we give, that you can bring a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. So if that horse has everything that they need right in front of them, but they somehow don't trust it and they're not willing to reach out and participate, then they still run the risk of dying of thirst and not recognizing that they had that opportunity. And so we want to be able to figure that out. The other piece that you mentioned was the differences of what might be a priority in high income populations and then our low and middle income populations. We're currently working through our studies with our countries. Our country is Venezuela, and as we're continuing to look and research, that's actually one of the things that we're noticing and seeing is there's a very different understanding and priority in, say, your urban areas, your areas that are more affluent than those that are out in the more rural populations. And man, trying to find a way for those two groups of people to work together versus feeling like they might be working apart or they're going to have very opposing values. And I absolutely believe that that is a global challenge that we would likely see in any given country. Part of that is the more we have, the less we sometimes understand that that can be a privilege. There can be things that we take for granted because it's always been a part of who we are versus another person who doesn't have the same concept. Kind of a different analogy, but I feel like it fits. I was talking to someone the other day, and she was talking about what she wants to do and feeling like she is just needs to have a purpose. And she's a white American, and her husband is Filipino. And for him, work has always just been seen as do what you're supposed to take care of your family. There's no emotion, there's no dreaming about what you want. And it was so eye opening for her to realize, wait a minute, when she was a child growing up and thinking about what she wanted to be and that there were options is a privilege. And so now she's at this impasse with a spouse who doesn't look at it that way and doesn't have understanding. To him, it's very cut and dry. And it's not necessarily about either one of them being more right or more wrong, but understanding that you look at life through a very different lens. And so your values are then going to be different based on those experiences. And then bringing that back to your post, that's exactly what we may see and encounter when we're talking about the difference between those that have more income and already have a certain level of accessibility versus those that are in low income and might just be fighting still for those basic needs of safety and security. So, thoroughly appreciated the insights that you brought, really challenged my thinking and caused me to reach out and make some further connections. Thank you for your great work.